much for coming sharing today.
Thanks. I don't have anything as interesting as Tinder or going to bed with other people, but I'm still glad to be here, and good evening from Hong Kong. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Adam Najberg. I work at Alibaba. I used to work at DJI, the drone company, and I was a foreign correspondent and editor for 25 years, most of them at the Wall Street Journal. I pivoted to comms and content from journalism because I needed to pay for college tuition for my kids. But something funny happened along the way. I really became a believer in the power of PR. We're taught as journalists to observe, and during these past several years, I've done a lot of observing. And while I don't have a scientific result for you, I do have a lot of anecdotal evidence to support what I'm about to say. And that is that comms is one of the key areas of a company's development that's ignored, downplayed, delayed, or misunderstood, especially by startup companies. And I can say also that nearly 100% of the problems that companies encounter because they think they're not ready for comms, they can't afford comms, or that one of the founders who read a blog post about comms can deal with the media and public about your messaging. You'd never have an executive assistant design a fusion course, so why would anyone think an engineer who starts up a company will know how to pitch features to the New York Times or diffuse a crisis with the newspaper? Let me give you an example of a great awakening by my bosses in Shenzhen when I was working at DJI. It was 2016. I was at a Las Vegas hotel dreaming about the all-you-could-eat buffet breakfast because DJI's per diem was very, very low. And I was with my head of North American comms. He was in a room across the hall. We were off the strip because, again, not a lot of money floating around there. But what happened was a crisis broke out. A drone hit a British Airways plane that was landing at Heathrow, and basically every news outlet on both sides of the pond started to cover this. And as if that wasn't enough, we actually had another crisis break out. The Verge decided to put out a story that rounded up and aggregated 7 recent incidents of how people were able to take drones out of the sky. So drones are the new UFOs. Everybody sees them, but nobody actually ever really saw them. Pilots back in that day were prone to crying drone for anything that was flying around them that wasn't another airplane. After it happened several times that the drone sighting turned out to be something else, a false alarm, my DJI PR team got very good at counseling media not to rush out a story before all the facts were in. So I'm still in my pajamas, spent pretty much the entire day dealing with this headache and this pain of 2 stories with my North American comms director in a Las Vegas hotel. And basically we won the day. What happened? Well, look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. It was actually a garbage bag, kind of as we told. So, I mean, basically, all of this is to underscore that every day, even though you think you're in the business of selling robotic dogs or basketball coaching software that goes on an iPad, you're actually in the information and messaging business. And failing to understand this could be ruinous. And now I'm going to go back to the main presentation from the opening anecdote. You're always one crisis away from utter failure. You might argue that statistically, since 90% of your companies are supposed to fail, what difference does it make whether you have a comm strategy or not? Because only 10% of you are still going to be around. Well, here's the thing. It's even more important when you're a small company because you're vulnerable and you need an edge. And if your brand takes a hit before it's really a brand, you may never raise another penny. Your reputation with the public will be garbage. The problem may follow you as the founder to your next venture. And it also shows that you're not a leader with foresight. If you don't tell your story, someone else is going to tell it for you. And you may not like the results. Point here, control your message, control the narrative. It's just as important as what color your widget is to determine what your message is. But there's also some other stuff that's going on here. I have 8 reasons. This is the 3rd one. You need to bridge the gap between your brand and the public. What does that mean? What does that mean? You need to erase doubts, shape opinions, persuade, create trust. Half of a young company's problem is that they're not yet a brand, that nobody knows what you stand for or what your brand represents. I want you to think about these iconic brands. A Rolex is classic, holds its value, gains value over decades. Coke's a globally iconic brand, no matter what language you see it in. Apple is cool, hip, cutting edge. All the successful people have it. Mario is fun. Disney is wholesome, no matter what generation you come from. Nobody knows who you are until you get everyone sharing your brand messages. And that's what your comms can do for you. What else? Make friends with the media now so that you get sympathetic listens later. Learn how to pitch journalists. Don't ignore them, revile them, or think you're too small to matter. When you're small and working your way up, that's the time to make contacts. Be open, be transparent, make your company and brand trusted and believable as a good entity. If you have a dozen media friends and something goes wrong, the channel's open and you get the benefit of the doubt. It's better to be that canary in the coal mine than to go down to the coal mine yourself. And that's another thing that your comms people can do for you. Your head of PR is an early warning system. They'll tell you, because they're your best sounding board for all your messages, good or bad, how something is going to resonate. Chinese companies, by the way, and I say this from 5 years of experience, they make many mistakes by thinking the world outside of China thinks like the world inside China, and that's just not the case. Someone with global experience can tell you how your message is going to be received, and if he or she's wrong, they're professional enough to pivot and change on the fly. So at a startup, everybody kind of shares the founder's vision, but will the public share the vision? Again, here's where comms can give you a reality check. Founders are visionary and inspiring, but you're prone to telling the public that you can land a colony on the moon before you've even designed the rocket. Comms can filter and focus and direct the inspiration in a beam that bedazzles the public and the media, or at least package it in a way that doesn't set off bullshit detectors. Would you rather shout yourself hoarse or use a bullhorn? Build your brand and reputation with the public and the media, because you run better when you don't run alone. Your comms person may not be an electrical engineer, but she's more than likely to be a great social engineer. And the last point here is advertising. Everybody wants to advertise. That's how you put your brand out there, but all you're doing is renting attention. PR buys mindshare. PR, I keep saying PR buys mindshare and it buys loyalty. Marketing too, by the way, it's just a short-term lease that you're signing. The best, the brightest, the smartest. Who says we offer the best products and services? That's as an ad. Trust me, they offer the best products and services, what your PR guy says, but he or she is saying it to the public, they're saying it to the media. It's not shouty, it's not glitzy, it's not in your face like advertising, because advertising, as soon as it's off, it's gone, you tune out. To wrap up, Elon Musk got rid of his comm teams at Tesla at headquarters. You could argue that is his own best PR, his own worst PR is probably also a good argument to make. Regardless, you could go all scorched earth like he did. As long as your share price is up, your sales are pointing north, and your products are performing, and advertising is doing well as advertised, you'll be fine. But back to the original point, he is one autonomous car crash away from a public catastrophe, one that could melt his share price, sales, and reputation. Point is, great PR people will find a way to get your information out to the public, to build loyalty for your brand. They'll help you pivot before you make a mistake. And if you do make a mistake, they'll help you navigate through it to a win. Thank you.